BigHerc916, positivity, motivation, never settle for average. You know, we do it over here. I just want to say that just because you didn't so-called get it out the mud doesn't make you any less black than the next guy who brags about how he got it from the streets or got it from the gutter or got it from the mud. That's a program, man. And to be honest, if you didn't have to do those things to get to where you are, it's a blessing.
Half the time, it's not the young brother living in poverty in the projects. No, these be the youngsters that live in the suburbs, whose families have deep six-figure incomes. Mama make 300,000, daddy make $500,000 a year, but he is so devoid of an identity.
Right. And he trying to portray something that he ain't never been, don't have no concept of.
Well, see, he living not in 5,000 square foot house in Pearland.
Right.
But when he goes around his peers and they ask him, where you from? He don't want to claim Pearland.
Yeah.
So what does he do? He said, I'm from Fifth Ward. Because that's where his granny lived.
Right.
That's where his mom and his daddy grew up. Because he building his identity. And because his mama and his daddy still together, and his life don't look like NBA young boys, he ashamed of the fact.
Yeah.
I'm telling you what I know. He's ashamed of the fact that he lives in a 2-parent household.
Right.
He's ashamed of the fact that his family got 3-4 cars.
Right.
Why? Because they'll always be able to accuse him of not getting it out the mud.
Right.
Oh, you had this handed to you.
Right.
You know, so these are some of the really peculiar dynamics that I'm finding in these cases that I'm dealing with. So a lot of these youngsters, they have a lot of options and a lot of opportunity, but they are choosing the streets.
If you had a mother and father in the household and they made you a hot breakfast in the morning before you went to school, or they read to you at night before you went to bed, and if your mom had a job and your dad had a job and you had a grandmother in your life, you had more than one car at your house, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a blessing. You don't have to emphasize that maybe your dad came from a certain hood or your mom grew up over here to give yourself any type of relevance. If they did, then obviously they worked hard to make sure you didn't have to grow up in the same environment. And although you may have relatives or friends still living over there, you don't have to take on that persona to have relevance. And a lot of young people want to talk in a certain fashion or dumb themselves down or sound like they from the hood to give themselves brownie points. And it's all bullshit, man. You think that because you had a little bit more than the other guys that they won't accept you because you didn't have to struggle or you didn't have to steal or you didn't have to carry a gun. Well, that's a blessing. And the trick bag is to get you to go over to the other side and act like you have to do those things to fit in. Maybe you don't need to fit in over there. Maybe your parents worked hard enough so that you could elevate yourself and not have to go through what they went through. And yet they let you see that aspect so you could see where they came from. But it's all about going forward and elevating. You shouldn't go backwards or go forwards. Your parents bust their ass if they worked hard and pulled themselves out of those environments, and now they have a 4 or 5 bedroom home or a 3 bedroom home, and they're able to provide these luxury things for you that other young people don't have access to. That's no shame in that, man. You should be proud of that. to act like you don't want those things or you're not grateful for those things, I'll tell you a trick, man. A lot of those people who talk shit about the people who have those things, who have a father and a mother, who have um, access to a great education, who have structure at home, they dream about those things, man. I've seen these people in prison watching shows where that lifestyle is a fantasy, and they wish they could actually impose themselves into those households. I've never heard any gangster say, "Man, it would have been nice growing up to have a hot breakfast in the morning and have options with shoes and clothing and be dropped off at school and have my dad take me to baseball games or to enjoy family vacations and to travel and to do things." I've never heard a gangster say he didn't want that. And I've been around some of the hardest guys you can imagine. At the end of the day, everybody that talks all this shit in the streets ultimately wants to be able to provide that in the future for their kids. They don't want their kids having to go through and gang bang and rob and jack people and hang around guys who are possibly getting in trouble or going to the pen or dealing with the police. Who wants to really be around that, man? Once you get old enough, see, when you're young, you got, a lot of hair, hair on your chest. You're trying to, your nuts are dropping. You trying to prove yourself. But when you get older, you realize that, man, shit, I'm glad I made it through that shit. Now I realize the choices I made, but if I could have made better choices, I wouldn't have did a lot of that shit. And so I'm trying to save you a lot of heartache, man. If you have people in your life that care about you, that have worked hard, and you think that they're not worthy or they're out of touch because they have all these things and you don't want them, and that's capitalistic, and you think you're better because you got a good job. Man, think you're better? Think that you're not worthy because you drive a nice car, or you're able to have more than one car, or take your kids somewhere and buy them things, or go on family vacations? Man, you've really been brainwashed, man. If you throw negative connotations with those things when your parents or your grandparents have worked hard to give you something so that you don't have to struggle. That's why you can't really get mad at people who maybe got lucky and got a trust fund or got a payout when they turned 18 or 21, because somebody planned. Having somebody plan your future makes your future a lot easier and a lot brighter. But what happens is a lot of people get these things and feel like they didn't deserve them, and then they go and do stupid shit, and then they realize, oh man, why'd I go do that? I knew a guy whose father owned a winery in prison, and he was acting like he was down with the skinheads or the white pride, or whatever you want to call it, movement in there. He hung out with white guys who would appear to be like they were racist, or didn't like other cliques and whatever, but he really wasn't that type of guy. He got caught up because he wanted to be cool, and he was hanging out with probably what would be considered a lower echelon of society, trying to be cool, trying to fit in, making silencers for guns. And he only got barely 5 years, because his dad knew the judge and they have political connections. You make a silencer for a gun, that's 10 years mandatory. Somehow this guy barely got 5 years, and he was going to get that knocked off because he came to me and asked me if I can help him file a motion to get one of his priors knocked down to a misdemeanor. But he said that he had probably close to $5,000 or $8,000 on his books. Don't tell nobody. He maxed out his commissary every month. Don't tell nobody. And whatever I wanted for me, for doing the motion, he would pay me. But he had somebody else who he would use as the go-to guy because he didn't want to be seen talking to me because he didn't want his homeboys to see that he was socializing with a black guy. But when he got out, the guys he was walking the yard with, the white guys he was talking all that grimy shit with, he gave him probably a fake number and they would never see him because he'd be in circles they can only dream of being involved in. So it's not just black culture, it's white culture too. But this guy, yeah, he's like, man, when I get out, man, I'm gonna take over my dad's winery, man. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm gonna go ahead and learn the business. And I was doing stuff before, but man, I was hanging out with some guys because he wanted to be hard, getting the tattoos, trying to look hard. Man, you're living in Danville, man. In the Bay Area, you're balling. Your family got bread. You live in a big ass house. You know, you got investments. Your family's got assets. But he wanted to be a tough guy and hang out with some street dudes and make silencers for guns. Wow. He wanted to get it from the mud. So it's not just black culture. Don't be fooled, man, by these guys who talk all this talk and act like they're this and that so that they can make it seem like they're down. That's all bullshit, man. If you're a square, you didn't have to do none of that stuff, and you were able to navigate, stay out of prison all your life and do the right thing, man, you're winning in life. You're winning. Because ain't nothing over there but a bunch of shit. Subscribe, share the channel. BigHerc916. Don't forget to stop by the BigHerc916 store and pick you up a sticker for your car, or a patch, or a sticker for your laptop, or maybe a beanie, or read one of the many books that BigHerc916 has authored.
Officially, I only got one real spanking my entire life. My mom did the best a 14-year-old could do, raising me with love and instilling values that will last a lifetime. I was a straight A student and lived to make her happy. So how did I go astray? A horrible stepdad that stole my self-worth and invoked fear turned me into a person that I struggled to overcome. From skateboarding to selling drugs, gang banging in juvenile hall, I got caught the same way many young promising men get caught up. I struggled to find my identity, getting mixed up in shootouts, crime, and the adult entertainment industry. This roller coaster continued as I juggled college, hustling, and Hollywood, eventually catching a federal bank robbery case. I found redemption in prison while serving a 120-month federal sentence and came out a man on a mission. I became a social media influencer with over 500 million views on YouTube and a life coach mentoring people all over the world. This is my journey against all odds.